Want to welcome you all to this call around being a nurse leader in mental wellness and mental fitness and with MI Global. And so I'm sure some of you have questions. I know some of you we've talked to like quite a lot about what we're actually doing. And I wanted to kind of have a couple of stories maybe first and just say, why are we here? And just share some stories about what we think is important around being a nurse leader in this mental health and mental wellness yeah, kind of what we're doing, right? And a little bit more about the vision too. So, and then after that, any questions, guys, about what you have and what your thoughts are and what you want to do? Because truth be told, this is brand new. I won't lie, this is brand new. We're just really starting this nurses group, and I'm really excited about it too. So, I want to introduce to Janelle first, and maybe we'll do Janelle. How about if we start with you a little bit more? Janelle is a nurse, and she's also in MI Global. She's a servant leader in MI Global. So, Janelle, welcome. I just want to say hi to you.
I'm excited to be here with you ladies this morning.
Yeah. So tell us a little more, Janelle. Let's just start a little bit about your story.
Sure.
Can you just do a short synopsis about what your story is, and then how do you started in this mental wellness space?
Let's see. Well, now it's been 3 years that we've been a part of MI from the very beginning. And the big part of that was I had been a nurse for 13 years. I did surgical, and post-trauma was what I did. And my last 5 years, I worked for a surgeon, and it was great. You guys know, I mean, it's nice having flexibility in nursing, and I had little kids. And so those last 5 years, I worked pretty much just kind of tapered down. My last year, I worked 1 shift a month, and then I just knew it was time for me to do something different. We were getting ready to for the adoption process. And what happened 3 years ago is I was pretty content with what I was doing. Thought, I love that I'm able to bring in the holistic solution side, or I should say kind of natural nutrition, and kind of bring that in a little bit, kind of a little side hustle that I had going on. But I was really just feeling unfulfilled in the way of feeling like I was making a difference in a way that really mattered, because I sometimes would be helping people with maybe in kind of the sports nutrition a little bit, or that was meaningful to them, losing 5 pounds, losing 20 pounds, losing 50 pounds, a good amount with weight loss. But I felt like what it kept coming down to is people saying, I just don't understand why I'm having feelings of anxiety, or I don't understand why my gut's such a mess when I'm doing so much to be healthy. And that was a big part of my story. So I've been dairy-free and gluten-free for so many years. And it was through what we're doing here at MI Global that now it's been almost 2 years that I've been totally free of all my food allergies. So I know it really just was, and I'm still waking up this morning. Sorry, it's 8 in the morning here, which is, for a Saturday. But for me, it was that transformation in my body and also my mind with the brain fog when I took this specific approach to the gut-brain connection. But it was also timely, because then at the time of saying yes to MI 3 years ago, as things were just getting off the ground, we were preparing for our adoption day, which is November 17th. We just celebrated 3 years. And so that was great. So to welcome the 2 extra daughters into our home, and we wanted to give them the best start. At the time, they were 6 and 7. And we just thought, of all the things we've learned, we want to give them the best chance to be so healthy, body, mind, and spirit. And this has been a huge contribution to their health. So that's my story. And so I do this full time with my husband. Full time for me, we can talk about that more, kind of what that looks like, but so thankful. It is so fulfilling to me, because there's so many stories from different areas of life, but very meaningful to whether it's, physical or it's the mental side. It's very fulfilling just to see people feel like their days look different and look better and a brighter forecast ahead. That feels really meaningful to me.
I love it. I love it. And I'm curious, as you're looking towards the future, because right now, like you said, you're doing with your husband, right? And it's a very different way of being what I call a nurse leader, right? I'm saying that nurse leader in mental wellness. It's a very different way of doing that, right? So I'm curious, what are you doing nowadays, and where do you see it going? Because I'd love for you to just have a little bit of a vision there too. It's where do you see it going, and so what are you doing now, and where do you see it going?
I don't see there being any other larger focus of our health than our mental health. And I think many of you would probably say you're already seeing signs of that. mental health, mental wellness, to not just not be sick, to not just not be well, but to be thriving, to be feeling great, body, mind, spirit. And I think knowing that, we've just been kind of ramping up, especially this last year, because we've been, I guess, pleasantly surprised how many people are relating to what it is we're doing. You know, whether it's again that personal, or it's somebody in their immediate nuclear family, or it's their friends and family that they love to death, and it's so hard to see them either having challenges physically or having challenges in their career and feeling like, well, I guess it's either this or nothing. I love that we're seeing so many medical professionals saying, I want to still, I will always be a provider, right? I want to always be helping people. We don't have to lose that. And I think that's what's been such a gift, is to feel like I can be personally connecting with people, be critically thinking through things, and then helping to really serve them, and then using all the tools we have. I feel like it, to me, is my favorite parts of nursing that I'm able to still bring in. So I say it's not A or B, but it's like, what if there's another way? What if it's not just be a nurse or don't be a nurse? What if there's another way to help in a space where the world is looking for solutions? And so we're just been ramping up. As far as, I'm not naturally a delegator. I was charge nurse for a short time period, but I'm also a creative. So it's been good for me this last year to bring in other aspects. That's been helpful, because I know we're just really ramping up, and I know I can't do it all. And I still have kids that are 9, 10, and 12. And I want to be there for them. So our big focus is we want to do success well. We want to make sure we're doing our thing, serving everybody, but we're also not willing to sacrifice our marriage and being parents. And so that's that tension that I feel like we've really just been wanting to dial in, and for the team, bringing that into the team as well. We want to do this well, because we're the mental wellness company. We want to share that. So I just have such a big vision for where we're going to be in the next few years already. It's outside of anything we could have imagined. But as I look and I'm hearing and I'm talking to people, and I'm someone that's either doing a massage or a waitress at the restaurant last night, where I'm not trying I'm just having conversations with people, and they're like, can you tell me what you do? Oh my gosh. So I'm just preparing to get even more clear on the vision and how we can best serve people. That's really the truth of it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that story, and you are an amazing leader. And we even just talked yesterday, right? This is also this is starting to really make impact and also income for you. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, because I think I want to hear some more stories. So but before we kind of go, and how about if you interview me for a second, and then we'll see if Kim and Holly kind of want to share a little bit too after that. If you girls
Sure.
want to, I'll leave it up to you, Kim and Holly, if you would just want to share a little bit about what you're doing. But
sure, I can ask you some questions.
Yeah, ask me some questions.
Okay. So you have your master's in nursing, which I learned only just recently.
Yeah.
And that's through Johns Hopkins and in that area. So my question for you is, what's been the biggest surprise? What is it that you didn't know you needed since partnering with Amari from a career standpoint?
The relaxation. For me personally, okay, let's do me personally, and then we'll do career, okay? Because I think they are related for me. It truly was amazing for me that I didn't know how stressed I was. I have always been a go-getter, but it always was from a feeling of not being good enough. I don't know if you guys know that, but I was the pleaser. I was trying to help everybody. I was like, go, go, go. And with that, I was a high performer. Yeah, I did go to Hopkins. I did get the master's there. I did get the career and everything else. But it was eating at me, and it was eating at my family. And I think I was so surprised that when I started using Amari and started getting involved in a company, I just took a breath, almost like, oh, I can breathe, I can be. And that has had such an impact on my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my mom. It's been like suddenly we can all breathe a little bit more. And it almost feels like it was just this little difference, right? Because I didn't have major anxiety attacks, but I did have a significant anxiety that I just didn't realize. I think that and also just feeling physically fit, and just being able to deal better and being my groove and being who I want to be. And honestly, I think probably that's why the career part comes in too, because I've always been a go-getter. I've always been wanting to change the world. Honestly, I have. And that was always my idea. People say when I was in my teens, I was a feminist like crazy. When I talk to my friends, I'm like, oh my goodness, Anne-Marie, you were so a feminist. And I think I've always wanted to do that. That's why I came here to the United States. That's why I came from the Netherlands. That's why I came to Hopkins. And I did all those things at Hopkins, right? I got the career, I did the nursing research. And then for those who know my story, I lost a baby, and that turned me around, and like, going to be with my kids, and I did. And then I wanted to go back into nursing, and I just couldn't go back to the system of the bedside, because I didn't feel like I was making a difference there. And it's funny because sometimes, right now it's not behind me, but sometimes I have my graduate education from Hopkins, and people say, what are you doing, right? Why are you not doing this, being in a big hospital or something like that? And I always say, I feel like I've made a bigger difference here. I know I've made a bigger impact here on other people's lives, truly on people's lives, right? Whether it be physical or mental health, or just being who they are, and having the lifestyle that they want, instead of rushing and running, and just being there for everybody else, but not for themselves, or not truly being alive, not truly doing what they want to do. So yeah, I think I'm seeing that I can do that here. I can have my own time, my own way, but also make a big impact. And I mean, Deanna is on the call, and Deanna, if you don't want me to share your message, but we've shared it everywhere, so I can say it. But Deanna, to be honest, Deanna, you're one of my whys. I mean, this woman had lupus. She still has lupus, but she had hard time walking. She was on 30 medications. She's on 4 medications now, and she's walking in 6 weeks. That I never did. I mean, that kind of impact, I don't know. It's just, that to me is really sweet. So if you're talking about being career-wise, that's what made it. Yeah, that makes a difference.
Well, that's great. That's so great. And I think I'm just continually, and I'm not sure of everyone that's on, where you feel like you are in the knowledge of what we're doing with the gut-brain connection, the strain-specific bacteria and all this. But the more I learn, I just had an aha this last week from somebody that had this great story that they're sharing with me. I'm like, here's a dad, 40 years old, like fit, former college football player. And he texted Andrew and I, and he's like, I just have never felt so good. And there it came into, his body image and everything, because he really struggled with that after being a football player. And I just think I guess the biggest thing is how good he's feeling, and what has shifted in his body and in his mind, and how he's handling stress. And then him sharing how that has changed than his being a husband, being a dad. So it's a different way of looking at things, isn't it? It's like, yeah, Deanna, your story is amazing. And it's funny because I knew you before I knew about your story. I mean, I just see this vibrant woman, but that's part of your story. So it's just, there's no end to the different kinds of impact. And whether it's someone who, it's just that healthy career change they're looking for, where they can have a little more of that freedom, and incorporate some rest into their career, or just feel like, I want to focus in on this area. This is like fascinating to me. There's
no, and I totally agree. And in terms of nurses, I kind of see 2 things there. I want to support nurses who want to stay at the bedside too, right? Who do what they're doing. I want to just support them, be more clear, and get some sleep. I talked to a nurse yesterday. She had 4 hours sleep on average. I'm like, oh, you're killing your brain. You're actually killing your brain cells, right? So that's one of the things that I want to help nurses who do that. And then you're right, for nurses who are saying we want a different lifestyle, then this is a big impact. And that's a little bit of my dream. And that's why I kind of have this group, and that's why I'm going for these nurses, because my goodness, if we could have 100 or 1,000 nurses doing this together, right? Because nurses love to do things together too. It's something I think we love to work in teamwork too. But if we could have 100 nurses being involved in this and doing this, right? Or 1,000 nurses, what would that impact be? And how much fun would that be? And how much, impact would that give worldwide? So that's just one of my personal dreams. So.
Yes, totally. Yeah, you guys are our people. I mean, it's, you know, we've have different careers, different backgrounds, but we all have that in common. And yes, whether it's being able to go part-time, and that's life-giving. I mean, really, it's whatever. What is your goal? What would make your life feel even more fulfilling? Is it that different side of community? I mean, Anne-Marie and I were just in Mexico not too long ago, last week. And I think we didn't realize how much we all just being together. It's like so life-giving. I mean, I'm still just reeling and because it's powerful, that human connection. And this was great the last 7 months being virtual as well.
We're doing that too, right? Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah,
So.
no, thanks for sharing that. That you answered the question, what you didn't know that you really needed.
Yeah, I think that.
Well, till you're 65, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. So, all right, let's move to Holly for a little bit. Holly, and I know you're just, I don't know if we can share just a little bit of your story. I'd love to hear, because Holly she's from the West Coast. She's a nurse practitioner, and she just recently joined Amari. And Holly, I would just love for you to just talk a little about what's been going on, and why did you choose to be part of this nurse movement, this nurse leader movement? I don't know if you can talk.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've always been interested in health and wellness. I think it's sometimes a lot harder to live it. I definitely love eating healthy food. Sometimes I crave junk food, I think like everyone does, but I've always, that's one thing my family has commented. Thanks, Mom, for teaching us about healthy eating. And I have been reserved on paying for supplements just because I felt like, I could get it from food, but Anne-Marie really encouraged me to try the Amari products, and I've been really happy with them. I've been trying to find my groove. I got the launch pack, so I have everything. So it's like, okay, how many pills can I take every day? So that's been fun to figure out, and I'm still working on that part of it. But for me, I too was really burnt out of nursing. Took a little break after my fourth child was born, and when I came back to the bedside, I didn't like it. So I went into hospice as a nurse, which I absolutely loved, and then I ultimately became a nurse practitioner, and I work as a provider for hospice right now. But and I love that, and I plan to continue working as a nurse practitioner. I always been kind of entrepreneurial, and I like thinking about other opportunities, and is there a way that I can take the hard work that I've done as a nurse practitioner or a nurse for 20 years? Can I help others? Is there a way to teach them about how to, one thing I'd like to be a little less stressed. I realize that I do have anxiety, and my family comments on it, and I think as a nurse, I don't want to say I have anxiety because it's just not something you want to recognize. I have trouble sleeping, but taking the sleep at night and taking the mood has really helped me a lot. And I am learning how much I need to heal my gut. So I think there's a lot that nurses can offer to the world and to our community. And for me, I think I just want to figure out, and I haven't quite figured out the angle yet. I've shared a little bit with my friends, a little bit on social media. So for me, when Emery said about a nurses group, that piqued my interest more so than any other avenue. And so I'm still trying to figure out and learn, how do I reach out that way and, counsel people. So I haven't figured out the avenue yet, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I love it. And I love your story, and I love your courage in saying, let's do something different. And honestly, that is where we're at, right? Because the more I talk to nurses, we are used to a certain way of practicing. And this is a little bit outside the box, right? I have a podcast called Nurses Outside the Box, and this is a little bit different. So, but I think there's also an excitement, right? About doing things a little bit differently. So, yeah, awesome.
Yep. And I'm moving to Texas next month. Getting out of California. We decided it's a little crazy here, and our 3 kids can't go to school, and our oldest is in college. So and I'm going to be working for a functional medicine or a family medicine clinic that does some functional medicine. So I'm excited for a new adventure.
Awesome. I love it.
Great. Great to meet you, Holly.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
That's exciting. Yeah. So, and then I don't know if Kim can talk a little bit more. I do want to say in general, this group is new, and what we're doing as nurse leaders is new. What we do have is a system, and Janelle can also talk towards that, right? I just want to make sure that people who are kind of on this call saying, yes, as a nurses group, we're doing different, but the system we have in Amari, and how to help you make this happen is we do have that. Janelle, you just want to speak like really quickly towards what we have there? Because I just
Yes. Yes, because I think that is probably the most important thing when as we're talking about, hey, this is something that can be life-giving, and that sounds fantastic. But I know the logistical aspect of it might be questions that people have, like, well, really, how much am I going to be on my computer or creating things or creating systems? And I'll just say that we have the kind of plug and play to be able to jump in corporately from the top is fantastic. We have just kind of a schedule of things that are available to everybody they can tap into. We have just an initial 10-step training when people get started. They can pop in on their own time, chunk it up, or sometimes we say, give yourself the time, go for a coffee shop for 2 hours and work through, and kind of having that on the job training. But to initially start with those, here's the first step, has been, I think, really a key to our retention. And also in people being able to get started right away, not feel like they need to know everything, but that they know just enough how to basically use the tools that we have. That's been the most freeing thing for me, is I haven't been having to feel like I have had to recreate. Have I had to be innovative? And now in this leadership role that we have, yes, totally. I mean, I've had to be innovative, and let's think about different challenges we can do or different give back things we can do. It's different, but the system that we have in place, I think, really is our fastball. Again, as a company, but then our team specifically, with Anna Marie and Deanna and others, is to be able to say, all right, what's the time you have? What's the goal you have? And then to be able just to point you in the direction. So we say, we have a track for you to run on, depending on what your goals are. And we don't want you to be, we're a mental wellness company. We want you to be mentally well as you're growing with us and as you're finding your sweet spot and as you're walking in your gifts. So we really, truly mean that. But I think just knowing that you have those systems in place, that if you decide, you're in a new place, Holly, and you think, I want to connect on LinkedIn. How do I do LinkedIn? We have a training on that if you want to go down that road. But we have the basics for every single person that don't change. How do we authentically communicate? How do we point people in the right direction? How do we get them started? How do we appropriately check in and see how they're doing? So that gets me so excited. And I think that has been what has, again, helped with our retention and helping people come in that have busy lives and have a lot going on, to be able to plug in and know what those next steps are. That's what I say.
I love it. And I love that you said this is a mental wellness company with those steps that we have. And actually, Andrew, who is Janelle's husband, who's a really good Tony Robbins coach, and he coaches us every single week. I love his coaching. But he actually said that to me when about 2 months in, and I was going a little bit crazy, like, Anna Marie, this is the mental wellness company. I was saying that. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because our ideas sometimes get going, or we realize that, my gosh, there's so many needs. Where do we want to focus? Where do we want our area to be? But that's the great thing, is that there's not really a limit. We really are serious when we say we want you to walk in your gifts. We have people from all different personalities on our team, probably more introverts than extroverts. People think that, everyone's just extroverts. Maybe like I am, Anne Marie. Are you an extrovert, would you say?
Both. I'm actually both.
Do you recharge with people, or do you recharge on your own?
The right people.
Yeah.
See, I always say that's what I say. I thought I was more of an introvert, but that was because I was always overgiving, and I was always trying to please everything and everybody. And when I started really saying, well, these are the people I loved, like last week, being so many people that I really like, I'm like, okay, I'm an extrovert there. So I think it's the right people.
And I'd say we have all different personalities and all different walks of life and all different age ranges, but the world needs visionary leaders right now, people that can just see what it is we're seeing and what we're doing, and just help people to connect those dots and helping them to get started, because it just percolates through other aspects of life. And I know that's always been a good self-check for me, because even as we're growing and things are a little like, it can be a little bit like it's going so fast sometimes, but to stop and go, okay, have gratitude around it and realize that it's good. People have the system to jump into. And so that's been nice to have.
Totally. All right, Kim, let's hear a little bit from you, and then we're going to go to questions, because anybody who has any questions, and we also want to just get started and say, how do you get started with us, right? With a Launchpad as well. So, but Kim, I don't know if you can talk a little bit and let us know just really briefly about what have you loved about being a nurse here in this mental wellness movement.
Yeah, definitely. So I've been in Amari for a couple of years, and I found it actually in a search to help my own family. And as soon as I found it, it spoke to me, because it's what I've always wanted to do as a nurse. I think early on, my husband had some struggles with being on medications, and I just always felt like it was important to look at a mind, body, spirit approach. And so just the core values, the vision, the mission, being able to really just love on people has been such a blessing. And I feel like I'm home. And so as I've been working with, other nurses, I've realized that, there's so many that feel like we do, and they're looking for this kind of opportunity. So it's been a great blessing to be able to share that. And I'm excited about this group, just to be able to learn and grow together, and just, it'll be exciting to see the impact that we'll have in the coming years.
Thanks, Kim. That's awesome. I love it. And I love knowing you. Last week was fun too. So I love being around you. So awesome. Well, let's just dive into how to get started. And Janelle, I'm going to just start with you again. Just let's talk a little bit about how to do that. And then I just want to go to questions, because I know it's almost, we said we were doing it for half an hour. It's always longer. And then I'll stop the recording and we'll do that, because a lot of people ask me, well, how do I get started, right? How do I jump in? And I personally truly feel like to do that, to get started with a Launchpad, to get started with that training is really, really vital. But what would you say is the best way, Janelle? You want to talk towards that? What's the best?
What comes to mind first, especially with this group, is I would encourage you, if you've not already, to watch our 11-minute, maybe it's 12, intro video. Some of you maybe have seen it, some of you haven't. And this is why I'm saying that, because this is a very personal choice, right? This is our career. Like, we've worked hard to be exactly where we are right now. And I think it's so important to spend some time and watch that, because we all know the importance of good leadership. Raise your hand if you know the importance of good leadership. Maybe your nursing job, like, we've all had great leaders. We've had ones that maybe needed a little bit of personal growth. But our leadership team of our 5 people at the helm, 5, 6 at the helm, including our head of science. I can tell you that for me, that is what has made this so fulfilling as a career as well, feeling like the leadership. But you need to feel that. And so that's, you hear from those gentlemen in that intro video, and you hear their story of why this company came together. So I say, I want you to watch that first. And then from that, how much of a pull are you feeling? The Launchpad is where we just suggest it's a great place to start, not only for the tax benefit, even if this, regardless if this is side hustle, or you're like, I want to focus on this being, replacing wherever you are in that spectrum. It's the Launchpad is great. You can use everything. You can use it within your family. You can give some, if you maybe yourself don't have maybe little kids or younger kids or teens in the house, you can, niece or nephew, you can be using, you have everything that we have in there. But a big part of it is you also get, and I don't know how much you want me to talk about this, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie can of course share all the benefits in there, but it's just a great, easy place to start. As far as just plug and play, you're going to have preloaded into your Amari Builder app her samples. So as you're thinking of people like, oh man, my sister in Florida, whatever, you can you can send a sample pack from your phone. It comes to them beautiful. Like, it looks like you went to the post office and spent all this time, but like, we make it simple for you. So I love that you get a bunch of those alongside that Launchpad. I mean, there's a lot of benefits, but I would just say first though, to watch that if you haven't already, because you're going to feel like, oh, now I get it. I get what they're talking about. And decide how much you want to lean in. But I just say that's always a great place to start.
Thank you, Janelle. And I love that. And yes, that has been truly a life changer for me as well. Because you're right. I think leadership is truly important, right? And for your own leadership, but also the people that you are going to work with for many years.
Mhm.
And the trust that I have gained in the last, oh no, a little bit over a year now, with these leaders has been amazing. And it's been truly just being with them and being around them. It's they're true leaders, and
Yeah.
that's fun, right? And then the truth is, if you have that container of true leadership, you can develop and you can do what you want, and you can develop how you need to do that, right? Without all the other constraints. And that's
Yeah.
something that I have truly loved. I've been lucky as a nurse. I've been having really good nurse managers, but I know you sometimes not. So, but being around the Amari leadership has been truly
Yeah.
awesome. All right, guys, I'm curious if there's any questions, and I'm going to stop the recording with that because I know we don't need to have those.